Doug, want to come on up? Well,
Wait a minute, is everybody done?
Is everybody done? Anybody else would like to address council?
Okay.
Okay, we'll close that proportion of our meeting, and Doug, and then we'll go to our department head. Doug, if you would. I'll do just a couple.
I'd like you to answer Mr. Yakin's 3 questions if you could.
Are you ending the citizens' night portion, sir?
Just on the budget, no, just the budget.
Okay, you're going to the citizens.
We're going to go to Citizen Light, yes.
Thank you.
Can you repeat them to me?
John, can you repeat your questions?
I mean, I could start with the last one and go backwards.
About the,
Supervisors, why we didn't promote more corporals? It would reduce the overtime by.
Mayor, we can't hear.
Okay. The reason,
I'm not running a meeting.
I don't want to get into a debate with him, but the reason that we didn't promote more corporals was we went down the list that we had. We promoted 3 or 4 on the list, and that was as far as we wanted to go. We currently do have 8 supervisors in patrol, not the 9, which we've had in the past. Some of this is contractual because of the way our contract's set up with the supervisor and patrol personnel, how we can put it together, so we have to kind of follow that. So we have 8 in patrol at this time. We have 1 in special operations and 1 in detectives. The reason I want to promote lieutenants and sergeants is that we no longer have an assistant chief position or a second administrative position. So having those other lieutenants and sergeants there, they can take on some of the administrative functions.
And he also,
By and far, obviously the cost of an assistant chief was in the 150 plus category. That money's nowhere near with promotions. Promotions are only $2,000 a position per year.
and he also made mention of the money for our folks that were used by other agencies about not being fully reimbursed.
Yeah,
And I
I'm
thought
quite
they
familiar
were.
with that. In the past, what we did with, currently, we do the same thing that we did even in the past. What we do is we fill out forms. Those forms are sent to the agencies that reimburse. There's in some cases, there's an added benefit package. In most cases, that's the case. So the hourly rate's pretty high. It's a time and a half rate plus a benefit package. That's tracked. We tracked it even at the letter he's talking about previously. In the past, whenever the federal agency ran out of money for their funding, we continued to go because we just did it through the regular payroll. We would get refunded later on down the line. In most cases, that's occurred. If it did not occur, we got asset seizure money in its place. And currently, our asset seizure money outweighed any near totally paid times 10 over. Like we have that all documented too, as to what we actually got in salary that wasn't reimbursed. So the feds have a limit. Let's say in a case they limit $25,000 for overtime. If we exceeded that, they then would give us more asset seizures when the seizures came in. So that's how that was funded. The previous administration thought that that was not the way to do that. It is all documented and audited. There's no issue there.
Doug, if they, as I recall, if the state is doing something on 22 and requires evening dedicated police officers to that detail, they include that in their contract, right? And we're just paid for that officer's time.
That's correct. He's talking about organized crime drug task force overtime.
I thought he was talking about all.
Well, I know what letter he's speaking of because Manager Silka had to review that and actually come up with a letter explaining that situation to the
I mean, the
previous
same thing
council.
goes with DUI checkpoints. When we send
Yeah.
officers out for that, the
Right.
state gives us a grant.
And they reimburse us. What happens with the federal, though, the difference with the OSADEF, which is the Organized Crime Drug Task Force overtime, which we're involved with cases currently, the difference is we don't know how much overtime it's going to be, Ron. We kind of know that if the DUI checkpoint's going to be this amount of hours this one night, and that's going to be what it's going to be. The Drug Task Force, we can't talk about all the stuff they do, but they go on and on and on. And that's why they have to refund it at the federal level, on and on and on. And how the catch-up to that is the asset seizure account. Any assets or seizures that we don't get the money back for salaries gets reimbursed to us through the asset seizure, really 10 times over. They give us more money than we actually expend. So that's been the case all along. We've documented that from day one. We could pull the records going back 15 years. That was just unfortunately, a political shot. But it is not true. That money was funded. It's always been there. The detectives have always worked that overtime. There's a checks and balance to make sure that they show up for it. There's no issues there at all, Manager. I can assure you that's even dotting the i's and crossing the t's now.
Thank you, Chief.
No problem.
Okay, thanks, Chief.
You know what, folks, for our department head,